Kia ora, good evening. Invercargill City looks set to have another star attraction alongside oysters and tuatara, with the announcement from Invercargill City Council that it will fund a new refuge for the endangered kakapo. Exciting news for the south, with confirmation Invercargill is to become the kakapo capital of the world with a purpose-built kakapo sanctuary.
The idea was bandied about probably over a number of years by several different people, but Councillor Arnold was the one who brought this proposal together and got the full support of the council straight away, and they all voted on it at one meeting, I understand.
There are only 126 of the world's largest and heaviest parrot in existence. The herbivores feed on roots, leaves and fruit and will be well catered for in a bespoke viewing enclosure.
It'll be about 15 metres square. We've got to get in about 3 or 4 rooms for care of the chicks as they grow, plus a kitchen and a laboratory, office, storeroom, things like that.
At this stage, it's likely it'll be a hands-off, eyes-only viewing experience.
Double glazing to keep down noise and shock to the birds, and that would be all. It would just be looking into the chick areas and the raising areas, the handling areas, through a double glass screen. We've got a sketch of what's required from dock staff, so we're going to talk to an architect and develop some ideas.
The world's only nocturnal ground-dwelling parrot requires some specific habitat features.
They climb in low scrub and high trees, anything they like, and cool. The inside of this building will be something like about 10 or 12 degrees for the young chicks and about 4 or 5 degrees for the older ones, so it'll actually have to be cooled rather than heated. It's
unknown exactly how much the enclosure will cost to build.
The construction budget, we'll be looking at the $425,000. That's going to be $50,000 a year that the council is going to put in for operational costs, but a lot of the operational costs should be carried, I guess, by DOC, because it'll be their staff who are coming in to look after the birds. The only other operating cost we'd have would be for continuing the sort of semi-permanent exhibition that we'd have in there.
Unfortunately, there won't be precious kakapo chicks on site all the time.
They'll be here for maybe 8 to 10 weeks, and maybe only every second or third year. But we would be setting up permanent exhibitions to show the story of the kakapo recovery and the story of how they procreate and the booming, and it's a fantastic story to learn all about these unique birds.
The preferred site is the north of the Southland Museum and Art Gallery, leading into the subantarctic gardens.
It's bound to bring people here. Like the tuatara, you can't see them really anywhere else in the world, and a lot of people are interested in birds, especially over in Europe and the United States. They would come here just to see the birds, the chicks when they're here.
With a potential lifespan of 120 years, the kakapo can look forward to an enduring neighbourly relationship with the museum's other iconic residents, the tuatara. Margot Sutherland, South Today News. Gore District Council wants Environment Southland to defer its proposed rules around the use of open fires and burning high sulphur coal until it hears what the public has to say about the draft Regional Air Quality Plan for Southland. ES received an estimated 750 submissions to its draft air quality plan and expects to hear submissions in the second quarter of next year. However, the proposed rules came into effect on the 6th of September when the draft plan was notified. They include banning the use of high sulphur coal from the 1st of January 2015 and banning open fires from September 1st. Mr Hicks says the council would like the rules deleted or deferred for at least 12 months to allow time for the submission process. ES staff has said the rule would not be enforced during the consultation process, but Mr Hicks believes anyone who acted contrary to the proposed rules could put their home insurance at risk. A new role's been introduced into hospitals around New Zealand as a way of addressing a shortage of staff in rural areas. The role of physician's assistant has been in the making in New Zealand for 2 years as hospitals worked with Health Workforce New Zealand to create alternative jobs for understaffed hospitals. Sharon Rees visited Gore Hospital, who have been trialling the role since 2012 and have welcomed a new addition to their team.
I think there's a massive call for this kind of role, particularly in rural New Zealand. At the moment, there's a lot of talk that there's sufficient doctor cover around New Zealand, but that's if you're in Auckland, Wellington or Christchurch. As soon as you move out into rural provincial New Zealand, again, we're faced with significant shortages, and I don't think that'll ever change, no matter how many medical students we produce. And we're always very wary that once the Australian economy starts to recover again, that again they will draw on our medical workforce again. So we're always going to be short, and rural will be no different. So for me, the physician assistance role is critical to the future workforce needs of New Zealand.
What work would they specifically be doing?
So they would work very similarly to a medical officer's role, and probably in a middle role in between working in between the nurse, ED nurse, and the medical officer in the emergency department, but doing very similar things along diagnosis and then coming up with a treatment plan, and making sure that they stabilise patients and transfer them down to the base hospitals in either Invercargill or Dunedin. There's a formal evaluation happening that's looking at how the 7 PAs have performed. A group called Synergia out of Auckland have been contracted by Health Workforce New Zealand to look at and evaluate how the program's been and how the pilot's gone for the last 2 years. And I've seen some preliminary results on that, and they're looking really, really positive.
So you have a 4-year degree, so an undergraduate degree. My bachelor's degree is actually in paramedics, so I worked as a paramedic in the States, and then went on to graduate school, which was at the time 2.5 additional years of kind of on the medical model type of training.
Will you be doing any training while you're here?
Well, we have continuing medical education that's required, so we'll continue on that. That's 100 hours per year, I believe, and then just additional trauma training and that type of stuff to stay up for this type of setting. So I started working yesterday and orientating, or 2 days ago, and so I'm orienting here and then also going to Southland Hospital to spend some time with the emergency consultant down there to kind of get a feel of New Zealand medicine.
Do stay with us. Up next on the bulletin, how a parasitic wasp is saving the South's clover, plus the Burt Munro fever. We check out the evolution of the Indian motorcycle. Welcome back. An industry-wide project's underway in Southland to combat the widespread infestation of the Clover root weevil. The project will see up to 1 million weevils infected with the Irish wasp parasite released onto Southland farms before winter in a bid to stop the devastation being caused to farms in the region.
At this stage, it's widespread. There's very, very few places in either Otago or Southland that aren't covered with the weevil at the moment. It's been a gradual process, but by the end of this season, it'll be right throughout. The real damage is done underneath the ground, where the larva of the weevil will actually take out the clover root nodules, which fix nitrogen, and then also take out the clover roots themselves.
How does the release of the wasp work?
What happens is we have some captive weevils which we parasitise with the wasp, so the wasp will actually inject their egg inside the weevil, so it's actually the weevil we hand to the farmer that's actually got the egg inside it of the wasp. It's spread out on the paddock, and then the wasp pupae comes out of the weevil and starts the whole process again. So they're actually a bit of a Trojan horse, the weevils that we hand out. And a point of note too is that all the weevils that have got the wasp inside them are sterilised, so they can't reproduce. So the moment they're parasitised, that's it. It's not like you can actually introduce the weevil to your property.
And how many farms are you planning on targeting?
We've done around about 650 farms in the Otago Southland region to date since the first releases we did in March. We're probably going to end up a little bit over about 1,200 odd farms by the time we finish the whole process, which will give us very good coverage in the bottom half of the South Island.
How much does an operation like this cost?
Tricky question, that, because of the fact that it's a collaboration between a number of industries. We did some back of the cigarette packet figures, and we worked out that it's costing us around about $80 to $90 per farm. That's just to beef and lamb. But when we did the sums on it, the payback to the farm is around about $30,000 in the first year. So very small investment in terms of the payback.
A new online tool's been released to help small and medium-sized businesses understand the cost of employing staff. The tool estimates the fixed and discretionary costs of hiring new staff, including salary, ACC levies and KiwiSaver. Discretionary costs include recruitment, training and office equipment. The employee cost calculator is hoped to assist small and medium-sized businesses in making confident hiring decisions based on realistic and reliable projections. The tool's available at business.govt.nz. Flights between China and New Zealand are set to double in another step to expand tourism, trade and personal ties between countries. Transport Minister Simon Bridges said the increased services of 42 flights per week is double the previous limit. Chinese airlines will provide a total of 21 services per week in the upcoming New Zealand summer peak period, with China Southern operating twice daily flights from Guangzhou to Auckland, with more planned to Christchurch over the Chinese New Year. Air New Zealand will continue to operate a daily service between Auckland and Shanghai. The doubling of capacity was negotiated by government officials last week. Motorcycle enthusiasts from around the country took a break from their Burt Munro Challenge preparations today to view a showcasing of the event's most iconic motorcycles.
The latest generation of Indian motorcycles are on display at Invercargill's E. Hayes & Sons for the duration of the Burt Munro Challenge. 5 Indian motorcycles, including the all-new Indian Scout, will be under the same roof as Burt Munro's original bike, in what is a rare opportunity for motorcycle lovers.
It's just such an iconic brand. You know, Indian is the first motorcycle made in America. They started making motorcycles in 1901. It's the original American motorcycle brand. So if you want to make a classic motorcycle, start with a classic brand.
How rare is this opportunity to have all of these bikes, including the original, in one store?
Oh, amazing opportunity. You know, like it's to be involved with Indian full stop for me and for the company is just such a great thing to do, and to be here in this E. Hayes with Burt's land speed record bike and so many other beautiful old bikes is quite an opportunity, and I've been having a wonderful day so far just looking at what else is here.
Connection with the Burt Munro Indian, because we've got the world's fastest Indian in here, so they wanted to tie the South Island release in with probably the most historic Indian on earth, which it is. So that's the reason for them wanting to be here, and we're lucky to have them. Pretty much everybody that's down here for the Burt Munro will come through here at some stage, because there's lots of free time during the day, up until Saturday at least. So most of them will be through at some point. Pretty much all of them, I would think, bound to be.
The Indian motorcycles will be on display until Monday the 1st of December at E. Hayes & Sons showroom. Sharon Rees, South Today News.
And the New Zealand Hill Climb Champs kick off tomorrow in Bluff at 10 a.m. as part of the Burt Munro Challenge. That's all we have time for this Wednesday. Weather's up next, followed by sport when Tom catches up with New Zealand's golf's GM, Phil Aiken, from the news team. Good night.